Aloha! Welcome to another episode of Think Tech Hawaii's Education Movers, Shakers, and Reformers. I'm your host, Carl Campagna. Today we have a guest with us today. Her name is Lisa Shozuya. She is the training director for LYON Associates with regards to disaster preparedness. So we're going to have a good conversation about that. On this show, we talk about a range of issues. Many people believe that education is the silver bullet or the linchpin that can help solve problems like income inequality, homelessness, drug addiction, social inequalities as well. And well, I agree with that, first of all, if that's not been made clear in the episodes that you've watched before. But it's vital. Education is a vital thing. And on this show, we talk about the programs that are available, not just to our keiki, but also to adults. We talk about the infrastructure that is necessary for our state in really multiple facets. Yes, for educational facilities, but there's more than that. There are more needs than just teaching students sometimes. And we're going to learn a bit more about that today, just a little bit about that today. So what we're going to do now is we're going to open up the discussion. We're going to introduce Lisa Shozuya, who's going to tell us a bit about herself, a bit about her program, and who she's working with, LYON Associates. So let me say welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. I will say that this was also a last-minute opportunity.
Yes.
We originally were supposed to have Kumu Brad Lum.
Mm-hmm.
He last minute was not able to make it, so
Where is he?
He's busy today. He's busy today. There's a Planned Parenthood event this evening, and he's working really hard with that. He was going to try to make some time, but he wasn't able to make it today. But we're looking at May 11th of having him back, and with his show, we're going to talk about. It's going to be a really interesting topic. It's going to be technology together with Hawaiian culture and Hawaiian values. So that's going to be an interesting conversation then. So
that is.
It's a big thing he likes to talk about. So, but today,
Cool. Mm-hmm.
today we're going to talk with you. We're going to talk about a little bit disaster preparedness, but it's really about community outreach.
Yes.
And community resiliency within that. Okay, so
Exactly.
tell us about yourself and what this program is.
Okay, so I'm the Director of Training and Community Outreach with LYON Associates. LYON Associates is actually a civil and environmental engineering company, but they have a deep reach in Hawaii and the Pacific. So one of their main things, their motto of their business or their mission is improving island life by weaving art, science, and culture in everything that they do. So culture being the most important part, because wherever they go, the cultures are different, the way they do things are different. So they really try to get to know the people that they serve. One of the things that they do in the Pacific is they work on a lot of islands and atolls. And when they do that, they're seeing the effects of climate change, sea level rise. So one of the things that they wanted to expand, I guess, in their company was this community part of it. And it was really kind of unknown, like how they were going to do it. They knew they wanted to do it, but they just didn't know how. So this opportunity came up last year where National Disaster Preparedness Training Center, which is actually out of the University of Hawaii, directed by Carl Kim, wanted to do a Pacific-specific campaign for disaster preparedness within the community. And so we got wind of it. We put in a proposal for it, and there were other companies that went for it too. But we got the contract to do this campaign, and it was actually a very perfect partnership, because it kind of fell in alignment with the company's work that they do. And instead of taking care of people, civil engineering is all about infrastructure and roads and all that kind of stuff. Well, they take care of things like at the point of disaster or after, in the recovery phases. But now we can do something beforehand to educate people.
That's excellent. So that's where it began.
So we created a partnership with the NDPTC, I'll call it.
Okay.
So,
out of the University of Hawaii.
Yeah.
Is that also tied to a more national program?
They have a national consortium that they belong to. But so NDPTC is one of 7 organizations in the nation that are authorized to develop and deliver FEMA certified courses.
Okay.
And all of the courses are free to the public. And they do everyone from the community level all the way up to government. So
Okay.
yeah, it's a very wide range of courses.
And that's what you do. You
Yep.
you develop these classes. You do the training.
So NDPTC develops and we deliver on the
Okay.
trainings. Yeah.
Okay. And then then you just need to get the community, the members, to show up.
Yes.
So that's part of the outreach portion. Is
Yes.
how do you reach the people?
Yes.
And then so how do you reach the people at the moment?
Okay, so when we started the campaign, I think NDPTC informed us that they had around 1,600 students that they reached in Hawaii over the course of like 5 years. And so our goal was to up that number by a lot. And our first initial goal was like, let's try to do 1,600 in a year. And so we looked at the way that they were going about it and how they were targeting people. And so most of it was government agencies or departments that would go to a training.
Okay.
What we decided to do was continue to do that, but then also bring up this other sort of grassroots kind of thing, effort
sure.
within the community, because everybody is part of this community. And at a time of disaster, you don't know where you're going to be, who's going to be a leader.
That's
right.
That's right. And then for that matter, you might want to be a leader, but you need to know what to do, and you need to know how
Exactly.
to respond.
Which is
right?
something that everybody should know.
It's true. We all
It's
should
true.
know. We all should
It's
know. And
true.
I apologize. I haven't been able to make it to a class yet, but I
Yeah,
want to.
but you will.
And I will. And I will.
Yes, you
I
will.
As soon as I can. When's
Yeah.
the next one?
Well, we have one going on today, actually,
Okay.
on Kauai Island.
On Kauai. Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. So this is all. Okay. Just to clarify, it's not just Hawaii.
Nope.
It is, and it's not just Oahu. It's all islands of Hawaii, and it's the entire Pacific.
It's not the entire Pacific, so some of the territories.
Okay.
So we do Hawaii, all islands,
Mm-hmm.
Guam, American Samoa, and CNMI. This
Okay.
is just to start.
Okay.
And then we also have some Pacific Northwest states, Oregon and Washington,
Oh, okay.
and then Alaska as well.
Interesting.
But Alaska, Oregon, and Washington, we're targeting the tribal populations.
Interesting. Why that specifically?
That's part of NDPTC's mission. So part of NDPTC's mission is to reach the underserved populations and then tribal populations as well.
Okay. How does that
So-
apply, or does that apply to Hawaii? It's not. Is it the same mission or a different mission in Hawaii?
Well, it's sort of the same mission in that we go to any area and we try to kind of focus on very rural areas, especially those where we know they are at risk and maybe don't have resources. Or, for instance, we were in Waianae 2 weeks ago, and then we were in Waimanalo last weekend. And each of those communities have both said that, if anything were to happen, like say to their roads, it's one way in and one way out.
Exactly.
And if it was like a major disaster, then what things are they going to do? What resources do they have within their community
Right.
to be able to,
And
take
it's
care of
not
themselves?
just the roadway. There's also communication.
Yes.
So what happens if
a
lines go
lot of
down,
stuff,
power
yeah.
lines go down, or and so there's no internet for many of them. Some of them have no internet anyway. A couple of them
Right.
still. But aside from that, phone service goes down, and
Yes.
something happens, and how do we reach those people?
Yeah.
How do we even know how to assess that? And that's part of
Yes,
what your training is.
That's part of what we're training, yeah.
Okay.
So we have a variety of different courses. And actually, there's 2 courses that we want everybody in the state to take, which is Coastal Community Resilience and Natural Disaster Awareness for Community Leaders. Those 2 courses we feel are the base curriculum that everybody on the island should have. That way we're all speaking the same language.
Yeah.
We're planning with the same information, so it's more of a coordinated effort. Even though you're doing it within your community, I'm doing it within mine. We're kind of speaking the same language
And
because
it's
we
based
learn.
on the same set of standards and
Yeah.
guidelines.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, well, that makes a lot of sense. That
Yeah.
makes a lot of sense. Okay, so how long? You said last year is when this began, so it's been about
May.
a year.
It's been about a year.
Excellent. Well,
Yeah.
first of all, congratulations. That's wonderful.
Thank you.
Excellent.
And we've nearly reached 600 students. Almost
Nearly 600. Okay.
Yeah.
Excellent.
So it's
excellent.
very good, yeah.
Well, good. And so, so how many have you done?
I don't exactly know how many classes. The classes range, I think the average, if I were to say, is about 25 to 30 per class.
Okay.
So I don't know what that computes to.
No, well, it depends on how many classes you've done.
Right.
So,
And we've done a range of classes too. So we have a tsunami class that we've done. We have a senior caregivers class that we're doing actually today on Kauai Island.
that would be very, now the tsunami one, that one's easy. Everyone just drives up the hill. They all come to my house.
Okay.
So that one's
Got
easy.
it. Where do you live?
That actually happens, though.
Okay.
A
Yeah, so
couple
where
of
do you
years
live?
ago, a couple of years, seriously, because there's a couple of parks up there as well.
Okay.
But they literally, because there's a bit of a view, they drive up to my driveway and they can actually watch it happen a little
Oh,
bit. So
wow.
I'm like, okay, hi, how are you? So that does happen, but I think there's much more to it.
I've
than
done that before. No, I have in high school.
Yeah, see, there you go.
Right.
That's just common. Hey, there's something coming. Let me
Yeah.
go up. Let me go uplands because that's what you should do. But I'm sure there's more to it than that.
Right.
So I don't want you to go through a class right now.
No.
But I'm sure there's much more to it than that.
Yeah.
But we want to invite everyone,
Yes.
man, woman, child, everyone in between,
Yes.
to come to at least these 2 baseline classes.
Yes. Yeah.
So that we're all speaking the same language, so that we all know how to help each other
Exactly.
should there be a need.
Right.
And that's the key, right?
Right. So in our classes, the beauty of it, I think we didn't see that at first, was that before the trainings, if the training was within a certain department, say, everybody kind of works together, they speak the same language. What happened when we got the class to go out into the community and invite the people who are in those departments, invite someone from the schools, invite someone from the military, invite the local politician, invite the retired people, whoever in the community, right? Everybody, we have such a diverse community, right?
Yeah.
So you invite everyone in there and they start having a conversation around this content. You realize how much you know and I don't know, or I know and you don't know. And we start to get to know, like, oh, okay, next time I got to call Carl because he has this kind of information or this kind of resources. People can start to, map out where the resources are.
Connect the dots for
Connect
it
the
and know who to
dots.
call. Because oftentimes that's the first thing. Who do I call?
Yeah.
Do I call the police? Do I call
Right.
911? Okay.
Right.
And then what?
Yes.
So, okay.
And in this day and age, it's not really common for neighbors to know each other either.
That's actually true. It's unfortunately true.
Yes.
It's unfortunately true, and I've definitely noticed that. So
Right.
we're going to take a quick break.
Okay.
So again, thank you so much for being on the show. Appreciate
Yes,
it. Looking
thank
forward
you
to some
for
more
having me.
conversation. So again, this is Think Tech Hawaii's Education Movers, Shakers, and Reformers. I'm your host, Carl Campagna, and today's guest is Lisa Shozuya. See you in a minute. Thanks.
Aloha, namaskar, and hello. My name is Anu Hittel, and I host the show called Climate Change Beyond Outrage. We go beyond outrage to find solutions to climate problems facing people, nations, and the world. I hope you will join me here every Tuesday at 1 o'clock. We broadcast live from thinktechhawaii.com. Aloha and bye-bye.
Aloha, this is Reg Baker. I'm the host of Business in Hawaii. We air every Thursday at 2 o'clock on thinktechhawaii.com. We broadcast from the ThinkTech studios in downtown Honolulu, and we talk about positive and successful companies in Hawaii. People that have been successful despite the obstacles. They all have a good story to tell. Hopefully we'll see you on Thursday at 2 o'clock. Aloha.
Aloha, I'm Kaui Lucas, host of Hawaii is My Mainland, here on Think Tech Hawaii every Friday at 3 p.m. We address issues of importance for those of us who live here on the most isolated landmass on the planet. Please come join me Fridays at 3 p.m. Mahalo.
Aloha, welcome back to Think Tech Hawaii's Education Movers, Shakers, and Reformers. Once again, I'm your host, Carl Campagna. And again, today we have with us Miss Lisa Shozuya.
Thank
So, thanks you again. We're talking about disaster preparedness training.
Mhm.
We're talking about community outreach,
Yep.
how to reach people, how to get them here. We stated that we want everyone
Yes.
to come participate so
Everyone.
that we all know how, as a community, to help each other should there be a need. And those needs can range from earthquakes to hurricanes, tsunamis, flooding.
Storm surges, all kind of stuff.
Amazing
Winds,
a
yeah.
range of things that we don't
Right.
even think about. And sometimes it could be avalanche opportunities, because sometimes those occur
Yep.
as well. And it's just being prepared, knowing who to call, and knowing. So one thing I was going to ask is, as you were mentioning in this last segment,
Mhm.
is reaching out to the community.
Yes.
and who you can bring in and who you get to know and identify. One of the things as you go through, have you discovered that there are certain community leaders,
Yes.
and those
Absolutely.
community leaders reach out to many more people in the community that maybe didn't show up?
Yes. That's actually what we look for.
Okay.
So, and usually community leaders, whoever they may be, will rise up. So we send out an email blast or we'll share it on social media, that we have classes coming up. Out of that, every single time somebody's contacting us, or the outreach that I've been doing is really face-to-face outreach. So literally, I've gone to speak at, I don't know how many, we've been to neighborhood boards, we've been to Rotary meetings, Lions clubs, town halls. People bringing it, Waikiki brought us in, to speak to their groups and stuff like that.
I don't think you've come to my Lion Club.
I have not, so you can
that's
invite
the
us.
Moanalua Lion Club. So
Okay.
I'll bring that up at our next meeting.
Okay.
So that would be great because one of the questions
Mm-hmm.
with the whole thing as well is there's different needs and there's different,
Definitely. You
based
got
on,
it.
you're talking about coastal.
Yeah,
Well, coastal, you can immediately see, well, okay, if there's a tsunami,
right.
well, there's an issue, coastal
Mhm.
issue. Well, there are other things that can occur, and based on where you are, up the hill, down the hill, in a plain,
Exactly.
in a valley, there are different needs. There's going to be, there would
Yes.
necessarily be a different approach to what you would need to do to address the problem.
Yes.
Some of that is, and I was, sort of half joking about people coming up to my house, but some of that is knowing, okay, well, this is happening, we're going to go up this hill, and well, you know what, I know that people are going to come up this hill, so what does that mean for me?
Right.
What does that mean for the rest of the community?
Right.
So making sure that that conversation is there so that we understand, well, okay, well, about 4 dozen people just came up the hill because, well, there's a tsunami alarm. Okay, what does that now mean as far as getting people to and from? What does that mean for the fact that I don't need to go down and get my kids who are at school?
Right.
And are they blocking my way? And what's a better approach?
Right.
And what's the best way to address people who are perhaps nervous or concerned or anxious? And so you go into all of those bits and pieces in
All
the
of
training.
those bits and pieces, yep. And all the things that you're actually thinking about, that's really good. I'm impressed. 'Cause you're thinking of everything. But, when you have a community in a class all together, then, it's like popcorn, right?
Yeah.
Somebody starts talking, and it's like,
It just
choo,
goes.
choo,
I
right.
think popcorn in my head then is what.
Yes, exactly. I think that's what it is. I put butter on there.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. It's tastier that way.
Mhm.
Okay, so do you have a preferred location as far as like a school cafeteria or an office space? Is there a preferred location that you like to choose, or is it just could it be the park?
Well, okay, so an ideal location is somewhere where there's chairs and tables.
Okay.
Because there is test taking involved and there's class material.
Okay.
It's not really necessary to have a table, but it's easier,
It's easier
to have
if you
one.
want to
We're
write
going to do
stuff out,
a class in the state capitol in a room, one of the conference rooms actually, and we're not going to have tables in there. We're asking people to bring notebooks,
Okay,
but
sure.
that's different.
Sure.
but-
Okay,
we
excellent.
make it work. But in the inside setting is better, especially because we have PowerPoint slides and there's activities, there's group activities and things that go
That
on
would make
too.
sense. So
Mhm.
any community facility, any
Any
opportunity where
community
you can get a little
facility.
office space, a little
Yeah.
conference room, that
So
you
our-
can put something up.
Exactly. So our minimum requirement is for you to have 25 to 30 people. Just bring 25 to 30 people together in a community, and it can be as large as 75 to 100 if you want. We bring them together, and then we take care of all of the rest. We have our online registration thing that people do. So you go online, you register, you do a pre-test. Then the class material is brought to the location. We have instructors that we send out to the location. We try to match the instructors who are good fits for whatever community that we're going into. So
Excellent.
it's been working out very
I think
nice.
that makes a lot of sense. I think so. Not only am I going to bring it to my Lion Club, Moanalua Lion
Mhm.
Club, I'm also going to bring it to the associations. There's a Moanalua Valley Association, Moanalua Gardens Association, and
Yeah.
talk to them and see, because there's a wealth of people, because all of those people who show up are community leaders.
Yes.
And if we can get them involved and if we can get them trained, and some of those groups have like 700 people.
Wow.
So
yeah.
if we can reach just some of them, and
Yes.
then have that get to the rest of the community, so that the
And
people in
those
Moanalua
leaders-
know
right.
what to do and how to do it and how to help their neighbors
Exactly.
as well.
So if we can get each community to learn and grow together and taking care of themselves, I mean, that becomes a very powerful community.
It is.
you
It's
know.
also a Hawaiian value.
Yeah.
for that matter. So
Yeah.
it's an important way to
That's
remember
true.
to reconnect
Yes.
with our neighbors, to make sure that
Right.
we are one.
Right.
So, yeah. So you were off air, we were talking about a few things that you have done and where you have done it.
Mhm.
And you have been able to pull together, and this I thought was an exciting thing.
Mhm.
You have been able to pull together some teachers and some administrators and even some students in some schools.
Yes. So, well, actually, we did one DOE complex area,
Okay.
and that was Kaimuki, McKinley, and Roosevelt High School. So, I guess how the complex area, I learned this, how the complex area works is that every elementary, middle, and high school within the complex area of Kaimuki, McKinley, and Roosevelt,
Okay.
they have these meetings that they come to, that they're required to come to, vice principals and principals. So what we did was we did a training during one of their meetings, and they actually spend the entire day meeting on all kind of stuff.
Oh, wow. And
Yeah.
I don't know if people were aware that happened.
Yeah, I love it because when we were there beforehand and after, and when you look at them and you see what they're doing, I mean, you just like, wow.
Makes you feel good.
It totally makes you feel good.
It's also for you, it's a captive audience.
Yes.
And a captive
So-
audience of important people, because that's one of the
Exactly.
keys.
Yes.
When we're talking about disaster preparedness, we're also talking about shelters. We're talking about
Yes.
where
Which the schools
people can
become,
go, and
yeah.
the schools become shelters. So
And
that's
these
that's
are
a
the
facet.
leaders. Yeah.
That's
these
a
are-
facet, right,
Mhm.
of the training. Is okay. How is it? Is it every school, or is it some schools? And
I think it's some schools.
some schools.
Yeah, and then also too, I think somebody goes around and determines if it should be the cafeteria, if it should be the gym, if it should be the classrooms, depending on the building, depending on what hazard is more at risk in that
And-
area.
and that would be
Like
the
if
other
it's
thing, exactly, whether you're
flooding,
uphill or
if it's
downhill or what,
hurricane,
yeah,
or if you're near the
okay.
ocean, or yeah.
Okay.
So that was great. The principals and vice principals do an excellent job of coming together and knowing everything about everything. So
Yeah.
this was one topic that they were very interested in. And what it did was it gave them the information. One, they're all going to speak the same language now within
Right.
this complex area.
Right.
Secondly, the information that's outlined in the training and that they got to participate in, now they can take that and they can run with it in more detail for themselves, and they can tailor all this information
They can
to
create
how they
more,
need to. Yeah,
location-specific plans as well.
exactly.
So how to get children to their families.
Mhm.
All
It
of that.
enhances and expands the plan that they already have in place.
Excellent.
It also brought up a lot of questions that there may have been like different answers.
Mhm.
So when you're in that context of the classroom, right, and all these questions are coming out, and it's like you answer one way, I answer the other way. It's like, well, who's right? Then they know, okay, we need to settle this and figure it out, right?
Yeah,
So it
maybe
makes
both
their
are right,
plan
maybe
tighter.
both are wrong. but,
Right,
yeah,
exactly.
based on condition, right?
Right,
Yeah,
exactly.
wow, okay.
So it was very good. Another
Wow.
thing we have going is within the community colleges, we're talking to KCC and Honolulu Community College. So they have a paramedic EMT in their health services at KCC, and then HCC has the police and the fire programs.
Okay.
I think both schools have articulation agreements with UH West Oahu.
Okay.
Now, UH West Oahu, I don't know if you knew this, but you can get a bachelor's degree in disaster preparedness and emergency management.
I only knew that because you told me.
Yeah, that's like a new thing. I was
Yeah.
so excited. I mean, we went to go visit the department, and the professors there are absolutely excited about what they're doing.
Okay.
The students, you probably heard of them because they're in important departments around the state and the county. So
So this is all
it's-
adult classes. Is
yeah.
it continuing education, or is it?
No, it's like
It's a degree program.
You can get a degree program, yeah. So,
Excellent.
so there's a percentage of the population of EMTs, police, and fire that actually, they start out wanting to do that, but then they want to go further.
Sure.
So they look at UH West Oahu as, something that they can
How
do
much
further.
of this is tied to the state plan, the state preparedness plan?
So I don't know.
That's
question
because that would be an interesting
Yes,
thing to
yeah.
because what you're doing is amazing,
Right.
And it's all important to do. But I know we've seen and we've heard through the hurricanes that have come through
Yes.
that there's a bit of a plan.
There is
and
a plan.
And there are
They do
people
have
who
a
are
plan, yes.
specific agencies and people who get put in charge to make sure that
Right.
this is happening.
As the state
So-
has it, the county has it, and then within the National Guard they have.
Right.
But they all work in coordination.
So
Um,
they, I would assume, would be speaking the same language of what you are
Yes,
teaching,
yeah.
and that's an assumption.
Yes.
Because it's all disaster preparedness training, but.
Yes, so we've talked to them, and we
Okay.
actually, I was so excited because we got to go into Diamond Head and get a tour of that whole bunker and
Oh, wow.
and everything that they do in there. It's very exciting stuff
Excellent.
that they do. So they actually have another program there too called HARP, and that's the Hawaii Hazards and Resiliency Program. And so that's like a 1-year program. We actually refer it to the community. So people come to our class, and then we tell them you should get some, demographic of your community volunteered, certified with CERT, which is through the county, I think. And then the HARP program is a 1-year thing where every month the state Hawaii Emergency Management will send out a speaker on a certain particular topic. Maybe you get to learn about hurricanes or tsunamis or flooding. And what it does is you create your group, and then you can continue with that stuff. And the more information that you hear, you can kind of prepare more as a community around those topics. Yeah,
Interesting. Wow. Okay.
that's cool.
One of the keys that I'm hearing with this is remembering that we are a community.
Yes.
Remembering, as
That's
you
the
were
most
saying
important thing.
earlier, we don't even get to know our neighbors very, very well these days. But having situations like this, and there's neighborhood boards, there's lots of potential opportunities for
Yes.
neighbors to show up
Right.
and see each other, but a couple do, not
Right.
all of them do. But this is one of those that I think everyone should be able to rally around.
That's what exactly. I was just going to say that we feel that the topic that we cover is really something, at the time of disaster, it doesn't matter where you work, what you do,
Who you know, what you know.
nothing.
Yeah.
It's going to be, everybody has to come together.
Yeah.
So we take our training and we bring everybody together, and all of the different sectors, like Red Cross will help people in amazing ways from the point of disaster, right? So the moment the event happens, they are ready and in gear. We visited them and we saw their programs. It's just amazing how they can mobilize people. CERT is the same way. That's like community volunteers that get dispatched in the time of a disaster, and they'll just know exactly what to do.
Yeah.
So what we want to focus on is the time from now. We tell everybody we'd much rather prepare on a sunny day in Hawaii than on a day of disaster.
Exactly.
Right?
Because that's not a time to learn. That's
No.
not a time to learn. So,
No.
alrighty, so that was a quick 15 minutes. So we're
Okay.
going to take another little break.
All right.
So thanks again for joining us. This is Think Tech Hawaii's Education Movers, Shakers, and Reformers. And I'm your host, Carl Campagna, with Ms. Lisa Shozuya. We'll see you in a minute.
Aloha, welcome to Think Tech Hawaii. My name is Josh Green. I'm the host of a program called Healthcare in Hawaii. I'm a physician. I work in the emergency department on the Big Island. I also serve in the state senate, which, please don't hold that against me, doesn't detract from my television program. We speak about all the big healthcare issues in the state. We get together on Tuesdays from 2 o'clock till 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and we try to talk about the most important issues in healthcare. This is a terrific venue for people to learn about healthcare. There are many programs on this station. We broadcast it later, not just on the internet, but also on OC16. Thanks for joining us. Please be informed healthcare consumers.
Aloha, I'm Kirsten Baumgart-Turner, and I'm fortunate to be able to host Sustainable Hawaii at thinktechhawaii.com. I hope you'll join in with us every Tuesday from 12 noon to 1 p.m. to see the interesting people we have to share with you their information. Aloha.
And we're back. Aloha. Welcome once again to Think Tech Hawaii's Education Movers, Shakers, and Reformers. I'm your host, Carl Campagna, and we have Ms. Lisa Shozuya, who we're talking about disaster preparedness and training. So one thing I wanted to talk about, and we were just mentioning this, but what I want people to be able to do is, if they're interested in this, I want them to be able to reach out to you, reach out to the entire program, and find out when the next class is, or how they can pull a class together, or how they can participate. So is there a phone number or an email address, or what's your preferred method for people to reach out to you to say, I would like to be in a class?
Okay, so one thing, we do have an email address. It's really easy. prepare@lyon.us.com.
That's LYON, L-Y-O-N.
L-Y-O-N, yes.
Okay.
And then you can also go to our Facebook page, because I announce all of our classes that are upcoming on our Facebook page. So that's the LYON Associates Facebook page.
Okay, excellent, excellent.
Yeah.
Okay, so LYON Associates Facebook page, that's LYON, LYON Associates Facebook page, and from there we'll see postings
Yeah.
and go from there. So now you can join as an individual, or is you
As a
prefer, or is it either? So you can pull a group together. If you can pull 20
Yeah.
people together, great. If it's just you and you want to show up, here's a listing of classes, we can fit you in somewhere.
Exactly.
Okay.
They can also go to the NDPTC website.
NDPTC website.
.hawaii.edu. I know it's
Dot
complicated. It's just
hawaii.edu.
easier if they just go to
Yeah.
our Facebook page.
Sure.
and,
So okay. Okay. Well, let me ask this. Let me take a slightly different direction here and
Sure.
see what your thoughts are.
Mhm.
What are some of the challenges that you have faced in this last year?
In getting people to come together.
In the program, in administering the program, in training, in
Okay.
getting people together, is the problem been getting the people, or what are some of the problems or challenges that you have had?
I think the biggest challenge is not being able to get to large amounts of people fast enough, because it's just been me doing the outreach.
Okay.
Jim Lyon, who owns the LYON Associates, he also helps me to go out and do the outreach too, but it's usually us together, because he'll talk technical stuff and then I'll talk community.
Okay.
So that's been a challenge. But what's helping us is every time we do a class, then that becomes another extension of us.
Absolutely,
right? Yeah.
absolutely. And then people talk about it. I've definitely seen several people that I know, many of my friends who have gone through the program, and then they'll announce it, they'll talk about it, they'll put little postings up, like I said, got my
Right.
certification, and it's very exciting.
Right.
And it's also, it serves two purposes. Number one, pride. And this
Yeah.
is what I accomplished, and I
Yes.
accomplished on behalf of my community.
Right.
But it also provides an opportunity for the community to know who that they can go to in
Right.
that particular instance. And here's a very interesting thing. We actually have a phone call.
Oh, wow.
This is going to be interesting and fascinating. This is the very first phone call that we have received. So Zuri, will they ask you the question? Will it come through me? Okay. Well, here's the question.
Oh, hi, Carl.
Hello.
It's great to be able to call you, Carl.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate
great
it.
show. You and Lisa, terrific.
Oh, excellent. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
But let me just ask you a question. You're talking about educating the public. What about educating the legislature?
That's a very good
What
question.
about getting them to act as a lightning rod for this issue and do some leadership? What about getting them to fund not only education but infrastructure? What about making this a campaign issue for anyone running for office, Carl? Those are my questions. I'll take my answer
those are great
offline.
questions. Those are some great questions. So, okay, so what we have here, the questions are, I don't know if everyone heard, but the questions are this. We're talking about educating the community and educating the people. Well, what about educating our legislature was the question. What about making sure that all of our members of the legislature are aware of not just disaster preparedness, but what is needed from an infrastructure perspective, from a facility perspective. So therefore, we need to prioritize maybe a little differently what we're doing and how we're doing it within our biannual budget to make sure that we are upgrading the infrastructure needed for disaster preparedness. That's one area. And or putting money in the budget to make sure that there is more state funding potentially for some of these classes to go on, maybe in more locations.
Right.
So, that's a great question. Then there was a follow-up question saying, well, how about we turn this into a campaign legislative issue? And that's something that certainly can be done. We can certainly make sure that that is brought up to everyone running for office and everyone interested in making sure that this reaches the community, because it is really the basis of community.
Yes.
And if you take the legislature and you think about what they're supposed to do, is serve the community, serve the people within their community. So this is one way, and it's a direct connection. So thank you for the question and the call. It's a direct connection to serving the community.
Exactly.
So I myself am looking forward to the class that I'm going to be in.
Yes.
And I would actually call upon every one of our legislators to take this class.
Yes. So we
At
actually
least
have
these two
some.
basis ones. So yeah,
Right.
please tell us about what you've already done
Okay.
with legislature, who's already been involved in anything that's going on there.
So we have been telling people about it, and we of course want to get to more people. We started with the people that we knew. Representative Ryan Yamane attended a couple of our classes, and actually he's one of our instructors. He's a certified instructor. So he has actually quite an amazing resume for preparedness, actually. He's involved in all kind of stuff. This is like his thing. So another representative, her name is Nicole Lowen.
Mhm.
I think she's from the Big Island.
Yes.
She's also interested, she was interested in coming to one of our classes, but couldn't make it, and she's also interested in becoming an instructor.
She's interested. Oh, good.
Representative Sam Kong has come to a couple of our classes
Yeah,
as well.
Yeah. He's out of IAEA in Pearl City.
Representative Marcus Oshiro has had us at his town hall meeting, and they're trying to get a
good.
Wahiwa thing going on
Excellent.
over there.
Very good. Again, realizing that this is an important thing
Yes.
and bringing it to the community. Seems to me that it's a natural fit for a politician in that
Yes.
regard. So
And then,
absolutely.
Jill Tokuda and Ken Ito had a joint town hall after legislative session last year. They brought us into their town hall.
Excellent.
Susie Chen Oakland, Scott Saiki, Carl Rhodes, and Carol Fukunaga.
Okay.
So county and state working
State and
together.
county working together, senators and reps.
They actually have a class going. So
Really?
Yes, on May 7th in the state capitol from 3 to 9.
May
You will
7th,
be
State
there.
Capitol, 3 to 9. I will be there.
No, not 3 to 9.
3 to
Room 329.
room 329.
Yeah.
At what
It's
time?
going to be on at 8 o'clock, I think.
At
8
8
to
o'clock.
12, yeah.
8 to 12 in the morning.
On a Saturday, yeah.
On a Saturday.
Mhm.
I will be there.
Okay.
I will be
awesome.
there. I normally have other things that I'm doing Saturday mornings, including knocking on doors. But you know what?
That's a good
May
way to be.
7th,
Bring your constituency with you.
bring them, and I want to bring it to them
Yeah.
eventually. So absolutely. So that's wonderful. Okay. So May 7th, room 329
At the
at the
state-
Capitol. At the state Capitol, we have senators and representatives and council members who have gotten together trying to bring people, representatives
To
and
do a class,
constituents
yeah.
together to do a class.
Yeah. So they actually have to contact us to be able to get in the class because you have to pre-register.
Okay, so contact you
they-
through Facebook
Mhm.
and through your email address, which is once again
Prepare
prepare
at lion.us.com.
lion.us.com.
Yeah.
Perfect. Excellent, excellent. So that's May 7th.
Yes.
That's wonderful. Okay, I'm gonna look into that. I'm
Yeah,
gonna
I'll
do my
send you
best
the
to make
link.
that one.
Yeah.
So can I tell you now?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm gonna come to that one.
Okay, awesome.
Okay, can you put me on the list?
There you go.
Good, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I want that so much, so important. So, okay. Again, thank you for that call. Thank you for the questions. That was my first phone-in call, so that was a lot of fun. I appreciate that. I love learning. That's why
Yes.
I'm here. That's why we're all here. Okay. I think we're getting close to the end of this segment, but I wanted to see if there was any final statements you would like to make with regards to the program itself, what you think is important for people to take away
Okay.
from this conversation.
So the most important thing is Hawaii needs to be prepared. Hawaii needs to be prepared. The reason why that we're looking at all these other places in the Pacific in training is because there are things, like natural things that there's a lot of scientists that we hang out with now that tell us a lot of scary information. So
Climate change.
climate change,
And
sea level rise, different kinds of earthquakes that are happening out in the Pacific Northwest that will affect us severe to catastrophic.
Okay.
If we did have multi-island events, do we have enough resources? Do we have enough, everybody thinks about their hurricane kit. Well, the things that we're trying to prepare people for are beyond the hurricane kit.
Yeah.
And it all goes back down to almost to where you don't even think like we have time for, because it has to do with planning, how we plan our communities, how we plan the city, how we
That's
plan
important. You were mentioning, I want to
transportation.
jump in real quickly, you were mentioning, in addition to that bachelor's program,
Yeah.
you said there's a PhD program for urban planning
Yeah,
as well.
Department of Urban and Regional Planning at UH has a planning.
Which is a vital
doctrine.
piece to make sure that, you know what,
Yes.
how we are planning and how we're arranging and organizing, and in some cases, how do we take a look at a community and say, you know what, when this was built, it sort of organically happened this way, but we need to make some changes to it.
Exactly.
In order to make sure we don't have any problems should there be.
Some of those changes are major too, and so it can be costly, but do we want to put in for the long term, right? And plan accordingly now so that we don't have to pay for it even more later? Those are all kind of things that
We would
looking
assume
at.
that. We would want that, right? We would
That
want to
would
say,
be
you know what,
ideal.
let's do preventative maintenance. Let's be forward in our thinking. Let's be proactive, not
Exactly.
reactive.
That's what the company that, that's what
Yes.
LYON does, right? So.
Is that what the community is saying? As people
Oh, yeah.
come to these classes,
The
community are saying that
community.
as well?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. the community are really smart, actually.
Yeah.
You know, we've gone into communities where they're like, why'd you guys put a road there? The water comes down the mountain over there. Now it's really coming down at
And
us.
now you've got runoff, and now it's going right into the coral reef. What are you doing? Why are you
Right, exactly. They know a lot.
It's an important thing to be able to understand that. And I mean, for one thing, I think that in Hawaii we have a larger percentage of people, I'll put it that way, that aren't trying to deny climate change or deny sea level rise issues, and instead they're trying to address it or trying to figure out how to best be prepared for what many say and believe to be, well, an eventual challenge, eventual problem.
I'll say this. The LYON Associates, when they go out into the atolls, there's people on those atolls that depend on taro as their staple food. But the sea level is rising into the taro fields, so they're losing their food source.
Wow.
Now, it's not like they can just go to Costco or go to a restaurant to go get more food.
That brings up other areas. There's a whole other areas
But
as
now
far
for
as
us,
food security is concerned. So that's,
So us in Hawaii, we don't notice that as much because we're not counting on the taro patch. We can go to Costco and go to the, but you know, it is happening, and it's
you know that
something
92% of the food we consume is brought in on a barge, right?
That's a whole nother
That's
show.
a whole other show.
Yeah.
That's a problem that needs to be addressed, but that's to
Right
me
now,
is to be
That's all
or
part of
could be
planning.
included in the planning and in disaster preparedness is what happens if the barges stop.
Yeah.
How do we take care of that? So
Exactly.
So sea level rise, it happens in a couple of ways. It comes onshore and it encroaches into the land, but then it also gets into the groundwater and into the aquifer
The
lens.
water table
into
changes.
the
that's
water
why, yeah.
table.
Mhm.
And then so what you're creating then is you're creating brackish, murky water to a certain extent, and therefore you're rising from the groundwater and then makes it salty as well in there. And those are some of the challenges, and those are some of the challenges we have to consider on these islands, on this island, on all islands, because that's where we get our drinking water from.
Yes.
So are there any discussions, and I think this is our last question, are there any discussions with regards to the sort of infrastructure changes that might need to be done?
Oh, well, the company, LYON, has been thinking about all those things because they sit around and think about this stuff.
Because it's what they do.
It's what they do.
So,
Right? So I think that a lot of people think about this stuff, but actually getting a plan down, I don't really know, but I believe that we should.
Okay.
You know.
All right. Well, I agree. I agree, and I think that
absolutely.
I think that we should do a number of things. I think we should. I know that your current mission is to teach adults.
Yes.
And it was wonderful that you got to some schools, but I think that it would be great to make sure that we have our kids learning earlier.
We're working on that. Yeah. That's a very important part of it too.
A huge piece, so that the kids aren't taking.
That could be something that the legislators or the state looks at for the long term.
Perfect.
You know, get this into the education system because we can adapt the curriculum. We've been asked to. Every community that we go to, they want us to get it into the schools.
See, once you're given some knowledge, you realize, wait,
yeah,
something more needs to be done.
Australia actually has a very good example. They're a very good example of that kind of community resilience from the very bottom up.
Excellent. Okay, well then we need to look that up. Okay, so that'll be some research and some homework for us. So I think we're at the end of our show. So thank you again so much. I appreciate the conversation, especially last minute.
Yeah, thank you so much.
An important topic.
Yes.
Really in all areas, in all sectors, because it's about people and it's about community.
Yes.
And that really is what brings us together on this. So thank you again. What I'll say is, thank you for joining us. This is Think Tech Hawaii's Education Movers, Shakers, and Reformers. We appreciate that you visit us every week. I also want to say thank you and many mahalos to the staff and the crew of Think Tech Hawaii. Thank you to Lisa Shozuya for joining me. And we will see you next week. Thank you.
Awesome.